What the hell? I keep switching it. There we go. There we go. You guys don't need to see those happy tissues. What's going on, guys? Waiting for you to kind of get in here.
Heart's flowing already.
Yeah, heart's flowing already. I love it. How's it going? How's it going, Jackie? Hey, Guxon. Sima, what's up? Smeegy. See some people join the room. Meatball. Keep that low, otherwise it'll echo.
Are you on the Wi-Fi?
People sharing. I am on the Wi-Fi. Yeah. I'm not gonna try to kill your data.
No,
Playing
it'd be
too
better
much.
on Wi-Fi.
Very windy in NY. Yeah, I think it's raining, right? I FaceTime with Lindsay earlier today, and she said she like just beat the rain. Pibbles pause. What's up? Got some people. I see some people sharing. Let's try to get as many people in the room before we start. I know sometimes I start a little early. This is going to be a good topic, talking about working levels. I think. What's up, Andrew? Working levels in general. People don't realize that when it comes to creating a language and using dog training tools, you're finding a working level with all tools, not just remote collars. We're going to get into the YouTube video that I just put out where I max the remote collar on my neck and just talking about a little bit more about that. We're going to get maybe Hubert a little bit involved, and we were actually just talking, and he's probably going to speak a little bit more on that, but he actually has a TENS unit here. Which a lot of times people compare to like remote collar and how it's used and stuff. So we'll be getting into that good stuff, and we'll do a little bit of Q&A. And what time is it over there? What it's about to be 11:45. 10 was it 10:40? 10:45 there? Yeah, 10:45 p.m. Cool, good stuff. All right, so real quick, you can heart away by tapping the screen. If this is your first Periscope, you can heart throughout. We appreciate that. That's what sends the hearts there. Does anybody recognize my hat? People know. People know. And that little person in the corner, you can tap that, and that will enable you. It'll allow you to share this with your friends on Periscope, share this to like Twitter, share this to, you know, copy the link or something and post it, so you can do that if you think people will benefit from this. Real quick, for those of you that follow us on YouTube, how many people watched the video that I put out? I guess for some people it's today, right?
Yeah.
If you think that I put out today or like yesterday. I'm gonna slide over a little. Yeah, right? Yeah. Did you guys get a chance to see that with the remote collar? You saw it, Smeegy saw it, watch it and share it, Kelly saw it. Kim Greco just did she sent me a video in like a group where she sprays, okay, Canine Cohen, okay, yeah, definitely get a chance to check that out. Canine Cohen sprayed a little kid with a water, not Canine Cohen, Kim sprayed a kid with a water bottle, and once he got sprayed once or twice, every time he was spraying himself, he would do this, and her comparison was, and this is someone who's like, is, I guess, more often than not labeled as a positive reinforcement dog trainer. Even though I do that stuff too, I'm more open. Not that she's like closed, but I'm more open and quick to jump to prong collars and stuff like that. So, hey Isaiah, how's it going? Nice to meet you too, man, from Texas. All right, I got to do something out there sometime. She basically said that like the anticipation with the kid himself squirting the water bottle was the same reaction by the third time that I tapped the remote, and kind of doing that. You know what I mean? Like anticipating it, but still like talking to you guys and being there. So it was pretty interesting. But now that we have a good amount of people in the room, hearts are flowing. Don't start the hearts. We got Bruce Lee in the background. I want to get into talking. This is your first time doing Adam doing Periscope? Is that it? Hey, what's up, Healy? How's it going? Ah, I see. Well, basically, it's live. The way we do it is because you can engage and you can ask those questions, you can just heart away. At the end, the hearts help us because it just shows how much people love and value the information. So when the hearts are flowing, you just tap the screen. We appreciate that. And then we do a little Q&A where you can ask your questions and we'll answer them. And it's kind of like you're right here in the room with me. And we'll just go on there. Yeah, definitely. And then that little person in the corner, Adam, if you're on Periscope, you could either share this or invite people to this scope live. When you watch it on the replay, you can still, because it's replayable on here for 24 hours, you can still share it and you can still heart, but you can't comment and you can't invite people live, obviously. So that's kind of how it works. On Periscope, it's replayable for up to 24 hours. But the cool thing is that there's it was a company or a website or something, catch.me, KATCH.me, that will archive the Periscopes and you can watch it. It's better to watch it on your computer than your phone, because when you turn the camera, it actually turns with and you can see the comments. On your phone, you can still view it, but you won't be able to see those comments. So you can watch that forever and share that as well. So that's a pretty cool website, I guess, or company. I don't know what you want to call that. Catch.me. So let's go ahead and jump into this. What I wanted to talk about was working levels, especially after that YouTube video. There are sometimes you'll come across people that will say you never really know. Like, a human can speak to you and a human can say when they feel, let's say we're talking about finding a remote collar or a level on a remote collar where the dog is not being shocked into compliance, but the dog just feels it a little. You tend to look for some type of response. You don't necessarily want a reaction, you want a response. I actually have a YouTube video out on this where you see dogs act differently. Now, here's the thing. I tend to work with a lot of problematic dogs in some way. The average person, and we do get puppies that come to us. We do get dog owners that are looking to avoid problems, so they want to start off fresh. But most people come and they spend the money that I charge because they're things that they want to work on, right? So when you have those type of dogs, you tend to have more knucklehead type dogs. Dogs that aren't really dialed into you. They don't really necessarily listen. When there's treats on the floor over there, you can say, hey, no, 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 hey, no, and there's no response. A dog isn't really soft on a leash. Where they feel leash, they come to you. Yeah, you get a dog that's kind of like exactly anxious and excitable. That's not really dialed in with you. A working level on a remote with a dog like that, what gets through to a dog there, a lot of white noise in their head, exactly. What gets through to a dog there is likely higher than what they actually feel, or I guess feel or hear, right? Because everything is a language. The way you use your voice is a language. The way you use your leash is a language. The way you use your remote collar. So there are a couple of little tricks. You don't necessarily want to find a dog's working level in a loud club-like atmosphere, or with cars going by, or with, a lot of distractions at a dog park, because you're likely going to speak higher. Just like if we were in a lounge right now and there was music playing, I would have to raise my voice and talk to you guys like this, even though I'm raising my voice not because I'm mad at you, right? So that's really important. To kind of understand.
So the TV was on a little
exactly. If the TV was on louder, I have to talk to you like this. But because we're kind of here and you guys are interested and like really listening, I can kind of talk at this level, right? So when you have dogs that are very, very kind of calm, chill, relaxed, there's not a lot going on. You're in an environment where like people aren't moving around behind you. Someone's not prepping food. You have a dog that really doesn't have a care in the world and is just kind of maybe relaxed on the placemat or something. If you have the remote collar on, you have a better shot at finding a more close to what they feel, actual working level. You know what I mean? With a dog that's like relaxed. Now, when you have dogs that are used to ignoring things, dogs that like you say, hey, come on, buddy, here. And the dog kind of just looks at you and is just like, yeah, like and it's like, come on here. And they don't really listen. They're not used to following through. You tell them to sit. You have to repeat yourself, hey, sit. And they hear you, sit, hey, down. And you have to, on the fifth time, they might do it. Those type of dogs, we're going to do that in a little bit. This guy right here in the background is Bruce Lee. The guy over here in the background is GQ Jiu-Jitsu, Hubert. Brown belts in Jiu-Jitsu. Don't mess with him, right?
Unless you're a black belt.
Unless you're a black belt. we're gonna get him on here in a little bit. So this is gonna be a good scope for sure. So definitely invite and share people if you haven't already. So going back to like a dog that's more happy-go-lucky, that's just kind of chilling. What's up, Trisha? How are you? That's just kind of hanging out. You have a better shot at starting from zero and tapping up every level or holding, where a dog is not expecting anything, and then all of a sudden they kind of do this, and then you lay off the button because they feel a little something, but they're not sure what it is. When you have a dog that's really soft and dialed in, you can find an accurate level. When you have a dog that's used to ignoring stuff, when you have that dog, your initial level, they might feel it, but they're used to being blah. If you have a dog that's on a leash and you want to get them to come to you and they like kind of resist it, they're feeling that, but they don't know how to be soft. So you might have to be initially firmer or more encouraging, more motivating in some way to get that, right? So initial working level is not always reflective or like accurate of what they actually feel. But it's what you work with in the beginning because it's what's necessary to get through to them, right? And that might be paired with food or whatever it is. As the dog starts getting more dialed in and your communication gets clearer and what you do, you find that in the beginning when you're talking like this, you start to get to a period where you start to talk like this because there's a very big difference between like lecturing and conversing. You know, in the beginning, I might have to be lecturing because I don't really have that relationship. But once you know what to expect, I could just have a conversation with you. And that's where we're trying to get these dogs, right? So what is typical that you'll find is a working level might initially be like, I don't know, let's say like a 10 for a dog or an 8 for a dog or something in a relatively sterile environment. And then all of a sudden, it actually gets lower. I'd say 8 times out of 10, your level gets lower when you're looking for it. So as a good handler, you have to be able to see those things and read because a dog can't verbally talk to you, but a dog absolutely can talk to you. You just have to know how to speak dog and read those signs because there are always signs. And not just physically, not just an ear twitch, not just this overall body language. You can. There's so many things to kind of look for. Every dog is different, right? So that's one of the points that I wanted to make across because a lot of people will say, "Oh, well, it's not fair because a dog can't tell you when it feels it." If you can't tell when a dog feels it, then that's something that you really need to work on, and you got to get to know your dog a little bit better. So usually, when we have dogs that come into the training center, we don't start them off on a remote collar right away. In fact, Andrew, if you're on here. How long was it? So we have 2 board and trains. Well, we have like maybe 4 or 5 board and trains in right now, but we have 2 board and trains that are a little bit further along in the program. I know that there were 5-week programs. We went a week, which is doing positive reinforcement foundation, working for food. It might even be longer. How long was it before we introduced Sloan and Jerry to the remote collar? Andrew, are you still on there? Because we're just now getting into it. And I'll wait to see if he responds. Okay, how long in the program before we first introduced Jerry and Sloan to the remote collar? They say bad connection.
Really?
Well, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe he has a bad connection. Oh, so 2nd, 3rd week in a board and train program. That's 5 weeks. So think about that. If we would have started, we had one dog that was super afraid of everything. We had another, oh, everyone's saying good connection. We had another dog that was super all over the place. And here's the thing. What you're trying to do is you're trying to get a dog to learn to focus more on one thing. Right? Leo and Jed were a little bit earlier. Yeah, it was probably after 1 week because they were a little bit more dialed in some ways. When you have an anxious dog that can't focus, that's super nervous. So their problem is not that they can't focus. Their problem is that they're focusing on too much and don't know how to focus on one thing. So once we work on a dog expecting and knowing what to do, then it's like you're a little bit more dialed in. I have a shot at finding a more accurate level for you, right? From Fretch Guiana, all right, awesome. Thank you for joining us. So that's basically how working levels work. You'll find that in the beginning, a dog might be out of tune and out of touch with your leash. They might be out of tune or out of touch with how you're using food, right? So the initial working level, you're having to really do more with your body and stuff. You're having to really use the leash more, use the remote collar like a little bit higher. Like you have to converse more, or I'm sorry, lecture more before you can actually converse. So with every single tool, whether you realize it or not, you are finding a working level, and initial working levels might actually, thank you, initial working levels might actually be higher than where you get the dog to. And if you're good at what you do, you always get the dog better and softer in a way where you can converse a little bit more. So that's my kind of spiel on working levels. If you have yet to see our YouTube, so you find a working level for everything. It's more commonly associated with remote collar, or what people will call like a e-collar or a shot collar or something. Give me a bunch of hearts. What do you mean before you leave? Give me a bunch. Appreciate it. Because that's you're trying to find what a dog responds to, and there's a very big difference between a reaction and a response. We're not looking for that type of reaction. We're looking for a response. So in order to find a nice response, you want to set your dog up for success and put him in a nice area. That's that, right? So if you haven't watched the YouTube video that I recently put out, Dream Come True Canine is the YouTube channel. That's the company name. You'll see the video. I max the collar up. What's up, NJ Dogs? I max the collar out on my neck, and then I explain theory a little bit more, right? But just to match the dog's state of mind. Yeah, so then Andrew, basically, sometimes you have to match where the person is, right? So that might mean that if you know that where they are, you have to speak higher than you'd like to, remove them from that place. Right? Unless you have a language that's clear. So, for example, a good example that I give all the time, can I have you here for a second? Just like in the frame, is, look at this guy. He's
got me under control right now.
Testing it itself. I called him over. I was like, get your ass over here now. No. I'm just kidding. So, if we were in a library, and his wife's name is Charlene, right? And Charlene last night pissed us off because I don't know what, like Charlene got like sloppy drunk. This is not true, by the way.
That's standard, actually. Standard.
Right? And she kind of embarrassed us, and I was like, I can't believe that Charlene did that. She has a lot of nerve. And just me bringing up that topic sends him into a place where he's pretty upset. And, and Charlene knows better, and I've had this conversation before, but we're having this conversation in a library. So him being fueled and him being really fixated on this, all of a sudden Charlene is walking behind him into the library, coming over to us. In a library, because we're talking like this, I can give him a little nudge to break his fixation. What'd you nudge me for? And then shut up, she's right behind you. Or a little bit of a this, where he goes, what was that for? She's right there. Right? So that is essentially like a working level, because that's something you feel that was enough to throw you off of your course so that I could give you direction in a library. But now let's say Charlene is looking good at the bar, right? She's dressed really nice, and he's proud. He's like, damn, my wife looks good. And she's getting a drink, and as he's there next to her, a guy comes over and very disrespectfully in front of him says a rude comment about her. Now Hubert's not playing. He's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. He's about to armbar the crap out of this dude, or who knows what he's gonna do. If he was about to go down with this guy, and the guy was maybe thinking about hitting him, and he was thinking about hitting the guy, I can assure you that what he felt in the library, a little bit of a working level, if he's going to knock someone out, I'm not going to be like, shut up, Hugh, it's not worth it. If in the middle of him being over there, you're looking at the guy over there, that's happening, he's very boisterous, I can't be like, Hubert, it's not worth it. Hubert! Dude, you're drunk, man. This guy, look at him. He's not worth it. He's a bum. Come on, let's get out of here, right? So I have to, his working level in that situation, in that scenario, has to match where he is. Otherwise, I cannot get through. So this is the thing. If you rush trying to get through to him in that situation, and you're not clear, and the dog doesn't know, he doesn't know what's expected, it's not the information, the communication is not clear, that's when you run the risk of a dog not knowing what to do. If you're using the remote collar by itself, and you're just popping a dog expecting him to know what to do, you probably have a 7 or 8 out of 10 chance, I'd say maybe 8 to 9 out of 10 chance of messing it up. It's very rare that a dog's just going to know what to do. That's why we spend time teaching language with the leash, helping to show the dog what to do, so they know what to do when they feel sensations. They know what's expected, and then we become the guy who's just their sponsor. We give them good advice when they need it, and we're trying to do less and less and less of it, so they start making more and more of a choice on their own, right? So that's basically how it works. So Hubert has a remote collar on his neck. You felt that? What'd you get up to?
I start feeling it, just like a little tingle around like 5, 6.
So he starts feeling it
But
around
it's
5
just
or
like,
6.
It's literally like
Yeah, so it's a little. How high have you gone on that?
I've gone pretty high. I could go 40.
Here, let me 55.
It'll twitch me.
Where I'm trying to. Let me turn this over this way. Can you see that it's 55? So I'm gonna get you right here. That's a 55, right? Mm-hmm. So you see it because it bothered me. I did a video, like we're not gonna go. They said nice blue collar. so that's pretty much it, right? But the point that he made, you can take that off your neck now. I trust you. I don't gotta keep it on you. The point that he made, he was like, dude, it's just like a TENS unit. And I've made that comment before. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the TENS unit, but what do they use TENS units for?
Relaxing your muscles, physiotherapy.
Physiotherapy, yeah, that's the word, yeah. For what? Like typically for like injuries and stuff like that?
Yeah, injuries kind of help promote the blood flow with the muscles because it involuntarily contracts it.
And that's what a remote collar is. It's muscle contraction, right? Why do you have one? Did you injure yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I do jiu-jitsu, so I come up with sore muscles, sore joints.
Okay, so where should I put? I mean, you're gonna put it on your. You can put it on your neck if you want.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All right, and just like tell me what it feels like in comparison to like a remote or something. You
have one of those. Actually used it though.
I haven't. No, I haven't. You have one of these for your back, right?
Yeah, bigger pads. But you can put it on your neck because I get neck injuries sometimes too.
Okay. So actually, I guess like if I have like a neck, I am kind of sore, like back here a little. You want to set me up here? Yeah. So these are muscle contractions, and it's actually used for therapy to, I guess help massage the muscle in a way, right? So there's sometimes where I have had this on before with one client.
Hold on.
And it actually felt a little bit stingier. Yeah, it tingles. Like I feel that now, and it kind of it's a weird feeling. It feels good, but it does contract the muscle.
Yeah.
Did you see that? Do that again.
It's just on a program. So.
Yeah, like it tenses me up. Now watch when hold on. Watch when you let it go and you shut it off. Do you see that? Like how I just kind of gave? I actually don't like that feeling too much. I guess it's not really in a good spot, but I can see how it can really. Yeah, it's back on again. Hold on.
So it's on a level 2 for this.
It's on a level 2.
This only has 5 levels.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a cheap e-collar.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know. This it kind of feels the same. This actually almost feels, as weird as it sounds, feels like
stingier,
like oddly stronger.
Really?
But I know that the remote collar levels are stronger, so that kind of doesn't make sense. But
well, I mean, it depends what level the remote is on, right? At 100, it probably.
I'm gonna take this off. But that's the thing. Like even with this, like I'm not like traumatized. It's just like, oh, okay, that's what it feels like, and then I understand how it can kind of like really help.
It's probably not even in a good spot.
Yeah, it wasn't in the best spot. Yeah, but like it actually, I feel like better like here. Like it's like I don't know. Like yeah, it goes in waves. Like almost like massage. Like after a massage, you know, like it kind of feels good, oddly. But yeah, that's that. But he's messed around with a lot of this stuff, and obviously I speak a lot on theory and everything, and we've been working with his dog and stuff, and just explaining things. I don't know if you have anything to add or anything, any thoughts, or just how things have been going or whatever. Just speak your mind.
Yeah.
I know I'm kind of just putting you like on the spot here, but I mean, if you had anything that you wanted to kind of add to this stuff, or
no, I mean I think there's just a lot of like we talked about, you know, just when we were having breakfast, just a lot of misinformation or just misconceptions or perceptions about certain tools, right? People see things and they visualize them as a certain way, like prong collars. People probably haven't even put one on. They see these kind of spiky looking things and they automatically think that, oh, this is going to hurt my dog. This is going to, you know, pierce the dog's skin and it's cruel. The reality is, I think 95% of these people have never actually put one on.
Or if they have, it's probably like a knockoff or something.
Exactly. And then there's also the perception of people, you know, who think electricity has adverse effects on your body. So they don't think of these TENS units. They think like, you know, tasers. They think, you know, putting your finger in a socket. That's like kind of the association that they make with electricity. So they automatically make that assumption when they think e-collar.
That's interesting. Andrew asked how did you originally feel about these tools?
I think like a lot of people, and I
Is it
think
on right now?
yeah, yeah.
He has it on. Like, what?
I think like a lot of people, the reason I initially bought an e-collar was to stop unwanted behavior, and that's actually what you shouldn't be doing. Right?
So yeah, was it? Did you kind of learn more about that prior to me, or is that like where you were like, you know what, this could be used this way? Because most people get remote collars
Yeah.
or shot collars to stop a behavior. I've
Yeah.
tried everything. Now
Yeah.
it's like a last resort.
I actually stopped because I didn't like what I was seeing because I didn't know what I was doing. But once it was taught a proper way, I was like, okay, this is good.
Started.
The dog actually understands it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, I think that's the problem you run into when you don't know what you're doing. You do run the risk of stressing out your
Yeah.
dog.
But then here is the thing. Everything is timing. Everything is clear communication.
Yeah.
So if your communication, like, I don't know why, maybe there are studies, but I don't know why there's not more studies. So yeah, so I introduced her dog to a prong collar, and she was hesitant at first. Why there aren't more studies about, like, for example, like the use of food and bad timing in food and how you can pretty regularly, and I see it all the time, stress dogs out and make dogs anxious
For sure.
from bad timing and working with food. That doesn't mean that food is like something you don't use, because surely, like with the remote collar or the prong collar, whatever the tool is, if it's used wrong and it's not clear, you can do the same thing. So we have to start getting out of the mindset. But like Hubert said, it's more, we already have this understanding, or this, okay, this is a shock collar.
Yeah.
The people that label it a shock collar or call it, they think of it that way. I talk about this in the last YouTube video. The people that look at the scary spikes or like a slip lead, and they call it a choke collar. It's already these negative words. A lot of things become wordplay, and you get people who are like strongly against it, who make it one way or the other. Like you might say like let's say like positive versus punitive. Like there's no other way or something. Or it's really weird how that works. But if you guys have any questions for Hubert, ask away, because this is like a client too, and it's pretty like just his own mind. Like these are questions that are coming from you, not that are prepped or anything. So definitely ask away. We're here working with his dog in Hong Kong, and now you get to talk to somebody firsthand that's not coming from me. You know what I mean? So pretty cool. Let's see if we get some questions here. And
I do speak English.
and then we get some questions of myself later on. But if you guys have questions, please ask away. What would you say you use it for the most? What, the remote collar? Let's see if it says yes. Oh, okay. So what would you say you use the remote collar for more? I guess like in the beginning, because we eventually do use it for corrections.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just teaching the dog how to shut it off, really, at very low levels.
So, like, what are you like forcing a dog into compliance? Like, what are some of the things that
He
you
should know the command before you put it on.
So, like, what are some of the like commands or things that like a dog should know prior?
All our foundation stuff. So sit.
They might not know the foundation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So sit down. I use a here, even a heel. So come to heel. I think those are basically it.
And what are some of the tools that we're using to teach that behavior before, like remote or like
Food, leash, a lot of leash actually.
I'm working on leash, leash and food, right?
Yeah. I actually, we had him remote trained before without much leash, and I've actually reintroduced that leash ever since you and I have been talking to kind of have him understand clearly what shuts off the remote collar.
Yeah, because that's interesting. The leash has a cheat sheet. The leash has, hey, if you come this way, this is what shuts leash pressure off, and then you just transfer remote pressure into that, versus like just assuming, just like having a remote on and expecting a dog to figure it out. It's not really fair, especially if the dog hasn't been successful in doing it prior. So it's little things like that where all of a sudden a tool can be looked at the wrong way. It was just taught the wrong way. Another question was, what's your favorite part about working with me here, like in person?
Well, I get to see everything firsthand. So a lot of things that we're doing is we're working kind of real life situations, and I'm getting the advice in the moment that it happens. So kind of the analogy, because Blake loves analogies, and we both do jiu-jitsu, and when you compete, or even when you're rolling in class, a lot of times the higher belts are kind of beside you, and they're telling you what to do. They're seeing things that you don't necessarily see, And with Blake here, that's exactly what's going on. Like he's kind of following me in the walks. He's seeing the moments of concern where Meatball kind of gets a little fixated, and he's telling me what to do. So a lot of that stuff, even after a board and train, I'm sure you cover in like your go home sessions. But I mean, if you're not in the moment with them, a lot of times it's kind of hard to get that timing down on your own.
Yeah, yeah. And what's pretty cool is like the process. So in the beginning, it was actually like I watched what he was doing and what Shar was doing, and then us people were like so helpful, excellent. And then I started showing them myself so they could see it, and then putting them in situations. And then somebody goes, is this your first dog? What have you tried before? How cool is it to have him there? So hold that for a second. I'll remember that. See it, and then handing it off to them and seeing where they are and what they struggle with. And when they're struggling, going, okay, I see why you're failing. Let's remove this situation. Let's work on this. Get good at this. Get good at this. Okay, now apply this to this situation. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I guess the hands-on really help. So
For sure.
Go into that question.
First dog. Yep.
He's 2 years old.
2 years old. Our first dog. I loved him the moment I saw him. I just didn't really know what I was getting into when I got him. He's a very powerful breed.
I think we all learned that.
Yeah,
the hard way.
Very stubborn. I think Blake had very similar experiences. We did have someone else come and train him. Well, first, a lot of these positive only trainers, and they were fine to kind of lay little foundations, but they were never able to solve the reactivity. And then we got to the point where it's just kind of too much to handle even in the house. Given our living situations back then. So we had someone else come in to train him, which actually got him to a pretty good foundation. I don't think we could have done what we're doing now without that foundation. Sorry.
Difference between Blake, other trainers you have worked with who believe in the same methods.
Yeah.
But continue with your
Yeah, and well, again, what's great about Blake being here is just him showing us everything. I think a lot of it just comes down to him explaining to me why we need to do this at this certain time, how timing is important, and understanding, how our body language, how our voice helps in everything, paired with the remotes, paired with the tools. So that really, really helps. Whereas the other trainer, again, good. I love him. We're good friends. It was just more of he trained him during the day and kind of handed him off, and had us do things without certain things being necessarily explained properly to
people
us.
don't even know like any history or anything, so it's just he's had other trainers before. That's all. I don't even think Andrew actually even knows. Knows that. Yeah, that was just a random question. Somebody asked what kind of dog he is.
He's an American Staffy.
Yeah.
So in the States, he'd probably be considered.
So somebody was asking, do you pulse your dog or do you stim until they do what it is that you ask?
It's been a little mixture of both, right?
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a mixture of both. If you can get the
2. Somebody asked how old.
Oh, he's 2. Yeah, I mean, if he kind of blows you off the first time, you probably want to dial a little bit higher, get his attention, dial back down, and hold, which is what we've been doing.
Reactivity is definitely not genetics, but they say what was one of the main reasons why you had me here for dog reactivity, I guess.
Yeah, that's one of the main reasons. Yeah, I would say so. But even actually a bigger part of it is just we want to include him more in our everyday life. So being able to take him out to our lunches and cafes and whatever, and just have him really chill there, which is what we've been doing for the last few days, just practicing that.
So what are some of the reasons why you weren't able to do that? Obviously, dog reactivity is one. So if he sees a dog, but what are some of the other things?
Yeah, you just get so anxious. He loves people. I would never really have a problem with him around people, but you kind of see someone and it's like, oh, come pet me, and then it becomes much more of us not enjoying what we're doing and just having to manage him and having put him back into his position, whatever. And also because I'm not 100% confident. My wife and I.
I'm sorry.
My wife and I aren't really 100% with our timing. We didn't want to overdo the corrections and then stress them out. So that's important to have someone that knows what they're doing, knows when to interrupt and
how to do it. Yeah,
exactly.
That's the thing where a lot of people like really, I guess, sort of drop the ball is they try something and then it's not necessarily working. So they go, this isn't working for me. That's like trying to drive stick on your own without being taught, and you stall and you go, this isn't working. No, it works. You just got to learn how to do it. You know what I mean? And that's with everything. That's with using food. That's with using markers. That's with using timing and understanding where things come into play. Somebody wanted to see see Meatball. He's still passed out. So he's voluntarily in us. Great. Hey, Meatball. What's up, bud? You're famous. People want to say hi. People want to say hi. They're sleepy. So we were out on a walk today. And now we're at a point where a lot of things are just, I'm watching and I'm coaching for a distance and I'm trying to do less and less and less of the work so that he can do more and more and more on his own. Yeah, everyone's saying he's a handsome guy.
He is. And we didn't place him there. He just goes in there himself.
Yeah. We just came out from a walk and he just kind of did his thing, ate his food. What type of types of practice training is helping the most with DA? What's dog aggression? I guess. I don't know these fancy lingo terms.
Yeah, if it's dog aggression, it's just not letting him focus on that dog. The moment you see that concern, you're turning his head away from the distraction.
Yeah, and what are some of the things outside of that, outside of the actual scenario, the actual test, that helps with the actual test?
The indoor stuff, all the little things that we don't think matters. You know, like coming up to the kitchen while we're preparing food and he's just getting a little bit too concerned about everything. All the little things that we kind of let him get away with, we're managing that now.
Somebody asked where you got the name Meatball from.
My wife named it. He just looked. And we showed Blake the baby pictures. He looked like a little meatball.
Yeah, he did. The name is so perfect for him. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. If you guys have questions for either of us, him or me, ask a couple. We'll do some of this Q&A because I know we don't have a dog behavior question Tuesday episode. Episode 30, when I get back, is definitely going to go down. But in the meantime, I know some people have questions. It could be about this. It could be about your own dog. It could be for Hubert. It could be for me. But now's the time to go for it. And if you don't want to be on anymore, you can put it right for just chilling.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Why did the heart stop, guys? That's the question I have for you. When do you phase out food? Good question. Well, what we're working on now is using food to shape habits, right? So it's sort of like, this could be a bad example or a good one, and this is only for people that really know it. If you're ever in the military, or if you wake up at a certain time every single day, you wake up early every day, you set your alarm, at least this is happening for me. I get to a point where if I don't set my alarm, I wake up around the same time anyway. Mm-hmm. So when you build the habit and it becomes such a strong habit that you eventually make the choice without realizing that you're making the choice, that's what you're trying to get to, right? And there's so many different examples of that. Like, there are some things that are choices that we don't think about anymore. We wake up and we choose to put clothes on. You know what I mean? Before we go outside, we choose to, like, there's so many things that we do without thinking, to turn the light on when we get in the house. We choose things that just become habitual. And that's the best way. Like, I choose to wake up in the morning to go to the gym and do this. And I do it. And then before I know it, I begin to crave it because this is what I do. I no longer rationalize or think about, well, why do I do this? Or I'd rather do this. It's like, this is what I do. This is what I've been doing. Well, why do you do that? It's just what I do. I always do this after that. You know what I mean? You no longer think about that. And that's kind of the goal with food. And you start to kind of fade it out and you use it to your advantage, where you can start jackpotting a dog or slot machining a dog, where the theory is, for slot machines, people are hooked on slot machines. And why is that? They know that there's a shot of them winning and they've gotten a small taste of it. And they get it here and there. They get it, and there's some times where eventually you start fading out, where they're pulling the lever. Oh, and I got so close. Let me try again, maybe next time. And it's kind of the same thing with, like, dog training. And then you also have to find it. Dog's man's best friend, and they want to please, but you also have to appreciate the small level of selfishness almost that is for them. Why are they doing it? Because it does benefit them. So they have to see, okay, I want this. What can I do to get this? Right? How can I perform this way? How can I solve this puzzle? What is this guy asking me? And have a dog realize that their choices matter. Their ability to learn that something that they do results in what they get or don't get. So when you're asking a dog to do something and they're struggling, they know you're not just saying no and that there's no way out of it. It's not like a learned helplessness. It's, okay, there's a puzzle here. There's a Rubik's Cube. If there's something that I do, that unlocks this. And you work for food, but then eventually you transfer that to life and unlocks other things. So that's kind of how like dog training works, where you teach a dog that they are responsible for what they get, don't get, what they feel, don't feel. You know, how they act and don't act is based on, you know, what they get around them. First command to master on the e-collar. So the e-collar is just a tool that I like to use to help give me relevance, right? So we use the e-collar to show them that it's the same as the leash. So the leash helps us to teach the e-collar, but the leash, what the leash is doing is relaying information or communicating to the dog what it is that I want. So all the tools that I use come back to me. So the number one thing you want to teach the e-collar, unless you're doing like a rattlesnake aversion and something where it's not supposed to come from you, is that communication, that voice, there's something expected, and that's me talking to you. And if I develop my relationship properly and appropriately, when I'm talking, there's an expectation of how to listen and what to get, and you want to do it. And that goes into the recent Periscope I did, the difference between dog tricks and dog obedience, and how you need both for real world application and real world behavior. So things like that are really, really important. And that's what I look for. Sometimes in order to get that, you're introducing it with sending to place to get food, or introducing it, and that's coming from you, staying on place to get food, pairing it with your body language, pairing it with leash pressure, which comes from you, all of those things. You don't have to hide the remote, but you don't want it to be the magic wand. Like, hey, you're going to do this, or like that. That's not what it should be. Like, the tool should come from you. You know what I mean? You don't want to pull out a tool and have that. How do you find the appropriate correction level? Appropriate correction levels vary. They're based on what the dog knows, and they're based on the environment around them, and they're based on usually. So what we're working on now is Meatball was not really good at responding to the leash on the walk. So if he saw a dog and we were saying, hey, follow this, he would feel it, and instead of softly following and then staying on course, it's not now. I know how to listen to you, but right now I'm really nervous about this dog. I'm going to ignore that. So away from dogs, teaching remote feel the leash pressure, or remote pressure, feel the leash, come to me, shuts it off, come to me, shuts off. And you know how to do that on low scales when you're not listening to remote. Instead of me having to crank and yank and pop this leash, I can use a regular kind of leash pressure, and I can use a little bit more help to make the dog aware of what the leash is telling him. If the leash is not saying something clear, it doesn't matter how high or how low you are on the remote. But if the leash is saying something clear and the dog knows how to do that successfully away from the problem, but somehow loses focus and is really not engaged, now you can use remote to help him aware, oh, I didn't realize the leash was even saying that because I got so caught up. You know what I mean? So that kind of comes later. It's not a random correction, not a random pop. Your leash needs to be guiding a certain way. And if you're not good with leash pressure, you can pretty much butcher that. And Hubert's gotten so much better as we kind of move on. Yes, I do. Just like your voice does, right? If you're in a loud kind of lounge, sometimes you have to speak louder. It doesn't necessarily mean you're yelling, right? If I'm coaching a hockey game, my yelling from the bench from my kids, yeah, okay, now you gotta do that. I might be raising my voice because of the environment, but it doesn't mean I'm yelling at them. And then there's some situations where I am yelling at you, like because I'm upset with you. So sometimes yelling doesn't necessarily mean correction. Sometimes raising your voice is based on what's appropriate around you. And when you're level-headed and you're common sense, you understand it for what it is. Sure. And that's it. When you start to make it something you're not, and it's like you can't get out of like the closed-minded, like this is what I've heard and this is what it is, then that's when you're going to struggle, and that's when I'm not taking you on as a client. you got to be a little bit level-headed for that. So that's pretty much it. We'll take one more question, and then we're going to cut this short because we're going to head out in a little bit. You might be a little overbearing. How do you stop dogs from blocking each other at thresholds? E-collar correction. What do you mean by that? How do you stop? Like, how do you stop them from like just barging through like a threshold, like a doorway or something? The answer for that is you have to make yourself relevant. How do you make yourself relevant? Through using tools and giving meaning to what they are when you use them. If the dog doesn't know what to do when you're using these tools, teach that first. Drill that first. Teach a dog what to do, how to be successful. Drill it, drill it, drill it. That way when I say nope and I interrupt and then I help and I show the dog what to do, he goes, oh, I could just do that. And eventually I say nope and I don't help anymore, but he's already done it. He goes, well, don't do that. What have I done before? I've done this. Yeah, there you go. Good job. That was a better choice. So you start using less of you. In the beginning, it's more of you. You're the training wheels. You're the sponsor. And then eventually you start taking the back seat and you let them drive a little bit more. If that makes sense, right? Yeah, this is the thing. You don't want to use leash correction, treat, and e-collar as, oof. I don't know. That sounds confusing to me. Your timing has to be good. You know what I mean? Everything has to be clear. If dogs don't know the tools, don't try to walk a dog through a problem using languages that a dog doesn't speak. Right? The example I always give, I'm gonna teach you how to change the oil in my car, which is different, and you don't know how to change oil in my car. Let me make sure before I give you directions on how to do it, you speak the language of the directions that I'm going to give. If I'm going to give you directions in German, let me make sure you speak German before I give you directions in German on how to change oil in a car. That's dog training. And the directions are the leash. The directions are your body. The directions are the remote collar. The directions are you see, you're missing the point. She's like, do you use Nick? Do you use Boost? Yeah. It's like, you can use them all. You know what I mean? But you have to be clear. It's not about the button. It's not about, okay, well, do you pop here? It's speak the language. Learn how to do that. And that will change everything. Because now you have a dog that is multilingual. Your dog speaks the language of leash pressure. Your dog speaks the language of how to lure for food. Your dog speaks the language of remote collar. He understands your body and you're speaking clearly with your body. Everything is congruent. Everything makes sense. Everything's saying the same thing. Your dog will thrive and you will thrive at being a better communicator, right? So that's good. That's pretty much it. And we're going to end on that note. I think that's really important. We'll be doing more scopes for sure. I know it's getting a little late there for you guys, and we have some work to do. Clear communication is key. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, guys.